So now, how to use subject pronouns? This is very easy. Okay, when you have it as the subject of a sentence. Like for example, I am Gabo. Okay, so that is the subject in here. You use it also. Okay, after verb be. So how is that possible? Okay, it's very easy. Okay, so you can start with a person or one more time the subject, and you say it is he, and as you can see one more time, okay, you have it as a subject. Okay, it is he, the teacher who I talked to you one time. Okay, when two clauses are compared, for example, you and I. Okay, so this is the person, the first person, you and I. You and I are better than they. Okay, so after a comparison, you must use, okay, another subject pronoun, and finally after words such as or that. And if you remember, that is very related to relative pronouns. Okay, because also another relative pronoun that is here is also that. Okay, so for example, you say as you wish, or as, sorry, that what person? So that it is. Okay, so as you can see, these words is that and as and that, and after that you must use a subject pronoun. Okay, now let's go to check, not in this order, but let's go to check object pronouns. Okay, how do you use an object pronoun? Okay, it's very easy. Like for example, and you can also use them as you were, sorry, giving orders. Like for example, no, is rent them. And if you listen, this is like for example, rentales. Has this ending in Spanish that is las, les, los. Okay, for example, kiss me, bésame. So that is it. Okay, so this is similar like orders. Okay, and as you see, you have a verb, and after that you have an object pronoun. Okay, one more time when you compare two clauses, the difference is the previous one, the subject pronouns and object pronouns. When you use subject, is formal English, and remember the TOEFL certification evaluates formal English. So if you use, that is also correct, that is also you can use it, but that is the difference. You are using this as informal English. Okay, so for example, you are better than them, for example. Now let's go to change it. Than him. Okay, you're better than him. Okay, so that is the difference. Well, when you use subject is formal English. If you use an object, it's informal English. Okay, but it's possible to use it. Okay, and after prepositions. Okay, prepositions, if you remember in the parts of speech, they are not categorized. You have to study the list. Like for example, prepositions such as in, on, at, of, next to. Like for example, you say travel with me. Okay. So another question, no? What is the cat? Is on it. When I say it can be the table, no? So another one, no? So another example is what is your brother, no? So you say it's next to her. And when I refer to her, is maybe next to her sister, next to her mother. Okay, so that is it. Okay. Okay. So another way to use, well, now let's go explain this part that is possessive adjectives. Okay, I remember and I told you this is a special way of how to use of why possessive adjectives exist in the pronouns chart. Because if you look for it on the internet, you're gonna have that. You gotta check and you have possessive adjectives. Okay? A possessive adjective is like that, it's an adjective, and if you remember an adjective, okay, describes what? Describes a noun. Like for example, it's similar like to say blue chair. Your adjective is blue and the noun is chair. Okay? So for example, this is the same idea. Okay? For example, you refer to my laptop. The adjective is my, okay, and the noun is laptop. Okay? And the way to use possessive adjectives is for that, is to express possession. Okay? But also check it. Okay? When you use possessive adjectives, okay, you are creating a subject. Okay? All of this is the subject of the sentence. Okay? My laptop, and the rest you can create your sentence. For example, my laptop has 4 cores. Okay? 4 núcleos, 4 procesadores. Así. Okay? So, how do you recognize it? Because this is the verb and this is the complement. Okay? And this is the way of how not to use it. For example, it's not possible that you have, I'm going to use another one, like for example, her. Okay? When you use her, okay, and you don't write an object, okay, that is the way, that is how not to use it. Hey, Daniel, ¿le pusiste pausa?
No.
Okay, and that's the way of how to use possessive adjectives. Okay, you create this, and I was explaining this part. Okay, I was explaining that it's not possible to leave it alone. Like for example, if you say this is her what? Okay, it's imperative that you must have a noun in this place. Okay, it's not possible to leave it alone. Okay, that's the idea of possessive adjectives. You always must have, okay, a noun. Okay, so now the next step is to check possessive pronouns. Okay, how do you use a possessive pronoun? It's very easy. Possessive pronouns were created to replace possessive adjectives. Okay, so for example, you say my laptop. Okay, so remember, a possessive adjective, you must have an adjective and a noun. So how do you replace this? So you say the laptop is mine, and this is the difference. Well, you can't have a possessive adjective alone. It's possible to have a possessive pronoun alone. Like for example, you can say, so this is the example. Who's this? Okay, and you can say, okay, his. And if you're trying to say in Spanish, the él. Or for example, who's this? Okay, and you say it's hers or hers only. And it's understandable that you're trying to say in Spanish, de ella. Okay, so that is the idea. The second one, as you can see, in the previous sentence, the laptop is mine. Okay, so you can have you have the possessive pronouns after verb be, if you check it out. Okay, or for example, of ours. Okay, so when I say this is a very common expression when I'm with native people, with native speakers. Like for example, this is a friend of mine, and if you are trying to say this is un amigo mío, okay? Or for example, another question, whose, in a use of this, okay? Who's this? And you say, okay, that can is a possession of hers, es una posesión de quién? De ella. Okay, or for example, as this example, no? So, who are those people? And you say, okay, so those people are family of ours. Okay, so son nuestra familia. Okay, o son familia de nosotros. So you can say that. And comparing clauses also one more time. This is very important. When you compare a clause, okay, one more time. Like for example, more time. So, for example, let me check out. And okay, mine. Than mine. Okay. So, for example, you can check out and you can have sentences such as, okay, so her grades or her exam or his exam or their exams are better than mine. Okay. So you're trying to say that in Spanish, sus exámenes, su examen, el examen de él o el examen de ella son mejores que el mío. Okay, so that is the way. Okay, so now it's time for reflexive pronouns. Okay, reflexive pronouns is very easy to use them. You use them basically to emphasize the sentence. Like for example, I wrote this book by myself. And just that, it's just emphasis. Because you want to say, okay, I wrote a book. Yes, it's understandable. But you can say, I wrote a book by myself. Okay, it's emphasis. Subject, when the subject and the object are the same. For example, you say, I wrote, and I use the same sentence, I wrote myself. I wrote myself a book. Okay? So that is the idea. And if you can see the subject, okay, and the object are the same person. I wrote myself a book. It's understandable. Okay? So well, when you can have it also before a pronoun. For example, let's change it. He sent himself documents for, okay, as you can see we have the reflexive pronoun before a preposition, okay, so that's the way. But if you don't have it, it goes at the end, okay, and it will be he sent documents himself, like this. He sent, I'm sorry, it's in past. He sent documents himself. Okay, that's the difference. While here you have a preposition, in this sentence you don't have a preposition. Okay. Finally, we have relative pronouns, and the way to use this, okay, the way to use this I already told you is to join two sentences. Okay, but remember, when you use who or whom, you're talking about persons. Okay, people. When you use where, you're talking about a place. Okay, when you use what, you're talking about an object. Okay, or even when you use which, you're talking about an object or that. You have three possibilities to talk about objects. That is what, that, or which. Okay, so why is to talk about a reason. Okay, and whose is to talk about a belonging. Okay, a possession of another person. Finally, how is to explain a process. And that's all.